U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is testifying before two committees on Capitol Hill today. For the past couple of hours, he's faced questions by the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. It's a committee he once served on when he was a Florida senator before joining the Trump administration. Now, in the past hour, Rubio has been questioned on a number of issues, including Greenland, Russia's war in Ukraine, the Trump administration decision to withdraw from the World Health Organization, and of course, the U.S.-led war with Iran. So for more on this, we bring in the CBC's Chris Reyes. She's in Washington. Hello, Chris. So lots of topics covered so far, but the majority of the questions were about the conflict with Iran. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about what's been said.
Yeah, good afternoon, Arthi. And as you said there, this has been a wide-ranging briefing as the secretary makes the annual budget request for his department. And the context here is that the Trump administration is looking to reduce its State Department budget at the same time as increase their military budget significantly. And so Secretary Rubio has spent a lot of this briefing justifying the cuts around foreign aid and then defending its actions outside the U.S., like in Iran, Venezuela, Cuba, which he justified as part of his mandate as Secretary of State to bring other countries in line with U.S. interests. Now, that said, the questioning did quickly turn to the war in Iran very early, with a Democratic senator grilling Secretary Rubio on the lack of transparency and congressional approval over the mission. Have a listen to Senator Jeanne Shaheen of New Hampshire.
Congress has asked basic questions about the war. Why are roughly half of our Patriot interceptor stockpiles gone? Why does the Strait of Hormuz remain closed? Why is gas up $1.50? Why did 13 American service members lose their lives in this war? Congress deserves to know why, and Americans deserve to know why. Mr. Secretary, you would not have stood for this kind of stonewalling by the administration when you were a senator, and you certainly shouldn't stand for it as Secretary of State and National Security Advisor.
And then, Arthi, on the question of where these negotiations with Iran currently stand, Senator Rubio didn't directly address Iran's decision to shut down communications with the U.S. yesterday over Israeli attacks in Lebanon. He did seem to suggest that the talks with Iran are advancing better than they have in his recent memory.
We are in talks, and I say talks because talks with Iran are not like talks with Switzerland, okay? They're very different. They require the use of intermediaries, unfortunately. But there is the prospect before us, which could happen today, it could happen tomorrow, it could happen next week, that for the first time, certainly in my memory, they have agreed to negotiate aspects of their nuclear program that just a month ago, or just a year ago, they were refusing to even mention, much less enter into discussions about.
Okay, so Marco Rubio there shared some insights of what it's like to negotiate with Iran. Let's talk a little bit more about what we learned.
Yeah, he was asked by a Republican Senator, Arthi, to explain the process of negotiating with the Iranians. And he shared a few things. One is that the U.S. believes the current supreme leader is still alive and engaging in these talks. Another is that, and we've heard this before from the Secretary of State, that the U.S. position is that there is a lot of internal strife within the Iranian leadership that's causing delays and friction in the diplomacy. Rubio suggested that Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi may be the public face of these talks, but he believes the minister ultimately has to go back to the Council of Advisors, which report to the Supreme Leader, which then reports back to the negotiating team. And all of this is done through channels and avenues that are just slow in general. Again, though, worth mentioning that as he explains this process, the length of this war is a major pressure point for the Trump administration after promising a swift 6-week mission. And now this war is in its third month with no end in sight.
That is the CBC's Chris Reyes in Washington. Thank you.